Welcome in. We will be watching how I see the US after living in Europe for 5 years. Now, I wish I could say the same, but I've lived in America my whole life. And they say the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but I'm pretty sure it is in this case. I mean, I have no healthcare. GG's. And honestly, I looked through the comments a bit, and there's a ton of healthcare stories, so the sentiment is shared. Like this person, they moved to France 5 years ago. They went back to Maryland. Long story short, they got a bill worth $1,900 for going to the ER. Doctor saw them a week later for a follow-up. They needed surgery. That would cost $45K. But they just went back to France, saw a doctor, got surgery, 2 months off work, and they paid nothing. And there's other stories about someone like breaking their arm in Italy. You see it over here. It's just, it's crazy, man. America's crazy. Let's see what this guy has to say.
I just had a nightmare that I had to choose between 40 brands of toilet paper. It wasn't a nightmare. This is the US.
I just take Scott.
I
It's the
always enjoy
cheapest.
coming back to the US.
I don't got the YouTube
to
money
see
yet.
Family, friends, nature. The nature is unbeatable, especially in a place like California. But living in the US is sort of like living in one big Hollywood movie. It's an experience. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And after 4 years in Europe, I'm back in the US at the moment. So let me show you how I see the US now. It's time to do some grocery shopping. And of course, I hop in my car and drive 2 blocks to my local supermarket. And why walk when one can drive?
You see, I can't really relate to that. This guy, he used to live in California and he's back in California. I am from New York and we don't really drive around here too much. It's like more of a hassle because there's nowhere to park. I'm sure it's like similar in parts of Europe where it's like a very walkable city or town, whatever. But it's not like that in most parts of the US for sure. But that's what makes the US like interesting and like weird in that sense. It's one country, sure. But every state is like its own little mini country with its own culture, etc., etc.
Grocery shopping is an experience, an adventure. You see, I'm used to only 1 or 2 choices of brands to choose from in the
Oh,
Netherlands.
that's kind of cool. No more analysis paralysis, no information overload. You just pick one and you go off. Though like having options is cool. More so for food. I don't really need like 20 different toilet papers like he was like making fun of. Like just give me 2 and I'm good. I'll go on my way. But like for the food, I do kind of like that there's a gigantic selection to choose from.
Here, there are like 50 brands of everything to choose from toilet paper to sausages to coffee. Let's see, hazelnut, maple pecan. I'm gonna go with
Capitalism
caramel spice
goes
this time.
crazy.
On one hand, the variety is amazing. On the other, it can take me up to 15 minutes to buy toilet paper.
Yeah, fair.
And oh, do you know about our national treasure, Costco? At Costco, you'll find anything and everything in extra large. Everything really is bigger in the US. Plus the free samples.
Oh, I
and the
love
cheap hot
these.
dogs. And yes,
When I was little, I used to just go to Costco. My parents didn't have a Costco card. It was like a friend's parents' Costco card. Going like a little trip, a little excursion, just going around, eating all the free samples.
limited drink refills. This is America.
Holy crap, the selection is crazy. And while it's really nice to come back and see all this variety in the supermarkets from Safeway to Costco to Trader Joe's, it can be sometimes overwhelming when you have every single possible combination of coffee, toilet paper, and it can take me up to 20 minutes to buy a bag of chips. And the thing about free soda refills, while I still love the concept, and I loved it as a child, it's actually not so free because it's going to cost you in the long run in terms of your health.
It's time to go meet some
Proud water drinker over here, by the way. Shout out the water drinkers.
friends for lunch. And on the way there, I see them. Oh my. It's always a
The
show.
homeless.
The homeless. This is the part that Hollywood never shows.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, commenters, but I think it's Norway that like completely got rid of homelessness by just, giving them a little apartment. W.
But life goes on. It's part of everyday life in a big city. But I am looking forward to lunch.
This is extremely normal. Like if I go outside, walk for, 5 minutes, like I will see a homeless person.
And the food scene in the US, from Asian to Mexican to everything in between, there is something for everyone. And fast food everywhere, every block. every mall, every day. No wonder everyone is so big. Damn, I already gained 20 pounds, but I know I will lose it all when I get back to the Netherlands. And during lunch, my friend mentions her son had an allergic reaction, went to the emergency room. Luckily, he was fine, but they received a bill for $20,000.
Oh my God, brother. Are you serious? Oh, that's just terrifying. And like so many Americans just like don't go to the emergency room or the doctor when they need to, like on the verge of death, because they know they can't afford it. And I'm like going to go on like this long rant, so I'm just going to stop myself right here. But this is my biggest gripe with America. This is probably what I hate most, like the healthcare system. It's absurd.
And then my other friend tells me about the time he fainted, got transported to the ER, and was handed a $10,000 bill. It definitely makes one think twice before deciding to go to the ER.
Yep.
And then we talk about work, which is the most American thing to talk about. And he tells me casually, it's fine, same old, had to work this past weekend. Still working 60 hours a week. And I think to myself,
If I ever
Living
decide
hell,
to return
truly.
back to the US, I think it would be quite difficult for me to adapt back to the American way of life, culture, in terms of working, the number of hours, the stress, the lack of vacation, the fact that people don't take their vacation days. But I do miss parts of American work culture, the drive.
It's not really even like a matter of not taking your vacation days. You just barely get any to begin with.
The ambition, the energy, being surrounded by people who are very ambitious about their careers. It drove me to become a better person, a more confident person. And to be honest, I do miss that because that is part of my DNA growing up in the US. But it's a trade-off, right? It's a trade-off between, yes, you do make a lot more money in the US, but the trade-off is time.
and then we start talking about vacation. Another friend tells me
And like the public facilities are nothing. Like your tax dollars pretty much go nowhere. We don't get free healthcare.
about his jam-packed one-week vacation visiting 4 countries. And I was like, how is that possible? 4 countries, 1 week? Then I remember. That's how I used to travel as well.
And that's the thing, right? When you don't have that much time, you learn to pack everything in. I remember when I was traveling to Europe during my first time, I traveled to 10 countries in 2 weeks because, well, when you only have 2 weeks, you learn to pack everything in. I had this Google Sheets, the agenda every day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Every hour had an agenda, something to do. And that's the thing, right? When you travel so far to Europe, to Asia from the US, and you only have 1-2 weeks, you better make the most out of your time. Now let's get back to paying the bill.
But wait, what the hell is this? Sales tax? Tip?
Oh yeah, I
Mad-
was gonna say, where's the tip coming into this?
Madness. I need to walk off this madness and the lunch.
Wait, there's no sales tax? Sorry, there's no sales tax in parts of Europe? I'm about to cry. I thought you guys got like taxed worse than us, supposedly, which is why you have so much better everything else.
I walk
Say it ain't
towards
so.
Stanford University, which is nearby. I walk, and then I realize that I'm the only person walking. Oh wow, it's a lot further than I thought. No wonder nobody
Yeah,
walked.
once again, I'm probably the odd one out, like living in one of the only walkable cities. But like the rest of America, yeah, you need a car.
In the US. I arrived at campus to see a bunch of tourists. American universities, especially elite ones, are tourist hotspots. The brand name, the letters, the cost of tuition.
This is just weird as hell to me, honestly. This is like a cool building, but like being a tourist at a college, I don't know.
It's one of the biggest businesses in the US. And then I overhear some people talking about the most recent mass shooting.
A mass shooting at an American school in suburban Denver.
We are 25 days in, and there have been 40 mass shootings.
Yikes.
It seems like this is the norm nowadays in the US. It's sad and it's horrible. And oh yeah, the police, they beat up someone else again. What's sad is that many people no longer trust the police. And I know plenty of great police officers, but all it takes is a few bad apples to ruin it for the rest of them. Now I wonder what the news outlets are saying, because I've stopped reading the news. It's like this all-out war. CNN versus Fox. You get two different stories. It seems like such a divided country nowadays. The left versus the right, Democrats versus Republicans, the police versus the world.
And this is the thing that always shocks me when I come back now.
Is there like no, I guess, culture war, identity politics in Europe? I feel like there still is, right?
How divided
Maybe not to the level of America, where like the media is kind of incentivized to stoke the fires, but I feel like it's still over there. No?
the country has become. I mean, you can literally lose a friend because of politics. The
Yeah.
media has done a role in
You,
pitting
you
this
could lose a lot of things over politics. A friend, a job. It's crazy.
group versus this group as well. And it's sad because it doesn't seem so united anymore. It seems quite divided every time I come back, and it's sad. And the thing about the police, well, the police, they have such a bad reputation now when in fact they should be part of the community protecting people. And yes, there have been very unfortunate events that have happened. But when I think about the majority of the police officers that I have met in the past, they've been good people, genuinely good people. And nowadays we tend to label people based on this profession. It's a bias, when in fact I think it's wrong to do that. I think we should judge people based on their character, not on a label that we attach them to.
I agree with this guy 100%, but I do think the majority of cop haters would say he chose to be a cop, which is a reflection of his character, etc., etc. But I do agree what he's saying, and I do not think every cop is a terrible person. I don't even think most cops are terrible people, to be honest with you. There's just like a few really, really terrible ones that you see on the news, and you know, that's what gets views, it's what incites riots, etc., etc.
But yeah, I hope things get better. I don't think so in the short term, but I hope things get better.
But hey, at least public restrooms are still free in the US. It's time to head to the mall to do some shopping and say hello.
Actually, sometimes if you're not a paying customer, they won't let you go to the bathroom
to
in certain spots.
American consumerism and overly friendly customer service people. Shopping in the US is sort of like a game, looking for deals, getting credit card points. It can be extremely fun and addicting. But this is all part of the game of American consumerism, so be careful, or else you'll be in credit card debt like a dearth of Americans. Well, it's late and it's time to head home. And of course, there's traffic at 3 p.m. And this guy ahead of me just cut off the cyclist. It's quite a shock to see bikes, cars, buses, motorcycles all merging together in one lane. It can be quite dangerous to cycle in an American city. I then go and meet some friends for a drink, and I meet all these techies. And of course, I get asked the popular question.
Hey, so what do? I make YouTube videos. Oh, so you work for YouTube and Google, right? No, I just make videos. Oh, okay.
So this is something that Americans do really well. We tend to compare ourselves against one another. It's a very
Yeah, like
competitive
everything's a
society.
competition.
And we do this at a very young age. Which school, which college did you go to? What type of job, which company, who got promoted?
Is this solely American though? This is like, I don't know if this dude has like just a super romanticized view of Europe, but some of the things he's saying is like, it's pretty surprising to me, honestly.
It's part of the system. It's a very competitive society.
I feel like this is just like human nature in a way.
In my opinion, compared to other societies.
But if it's not, brother, get me out. Put me in Norway or something, please. I beg you.
And I remember there was one time when I first started off my career, I was working in the Big Four accounting firm. And I went out to a bar with some friends. They were all investment bankers. And I was talking to this one girl who was an investment banker. And of course, we talked about what we did. And when I told her that I worked in a Big Four firm, she kind of looked down upon me and said something very judgmental, like, oh, you only work at a Big Four company. And
Cringe. What does that even mean? You only work at a Big Four company?
I just remember feeling very crappy at that point in time, like I wasn't good enough. But I don't blame her. It's the system that we grow up in.
No, I think you should blame her. I think you should. Like, I've grown up in the system as well. You grew up in the system as well, and like you rejected it. I rejected it. I think we should dunk on her, with all due respect.
We tend to judge each other based on what we do.
What a-
Actually, I know I'm trying to say like I don't do that stuff, but I do. Like, I respect this dude because he's a YouTuber. And like I kind of, I judge the finance bros because I think they're like that girl, like looking down on people.
long, exhausting day. Just another day in Hollywood. Just another day in the US of A.
All right, good video. Interesting, enlightening. I am a little bit surprised to learn about some of this stuff. Like, I know America, the politics in America, I know they're far more polarizing. I get that. But I still thought there was like a bit of a culture war going down in Europe. And I think there is. I think he might have like too much of a romanticized view. Like, I know like in Sweden, like there's like a lot of beef between like Swedish people and like some of the refugees. And I'm sure there's other places too. That's just the first thing that came to mind. And regarding like the rat race and how super competitive it is and how you judge people by their job and how much money they make, I assume that like still flies in Europe as well. But if it doesn't, that's very interesting. And I would love to go visit. I would love to live there. It sounds quite nice. But the main takeaway is the health insurance. And all the people in the comments are talking about the health insurance and how they just visited Europe and they got injured and everything was free. And if they'd happened to them in America, $50,000, etc., etc. Yeah, all that video did was really just, reinforce that America kind of mid to live in, with all due respect. Though I know I do have it better than 99% of other countries. But Europe's looking pretty good. I wouldn't mind living in Norway.